Sooner Nation, welcome into another episode of Sooner Spotlight, your all-access pass for all things Oklahoma Sooners athletics. I'm your host, Josh Mahler. You can find me on X, formerly known as Twitter, at RealJoshMahler, and follow the show over on Instagram at Sooner Spotlight. It's the best place to keep up with us on everything that we've got going. Sooner Spotlight is a member of the OU Insider content lineup, so to keep up with even more Oklahoma Sooners sports news and so much more, go over to ouinsider.com, get signed up today. Become a member of the greatest Oklahoma Sooners just overall community out there. It's a great place to have fans, let their voices be heard, and so much more. Get in on the inside scoop. Don't miss out anymore. Get over there and get signed up at ouinsider.com today. Get started with hitting that like button, subscribe button. Of course, give us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you listen to your podcast. Let's go ahead and get into it first by bringing in my guest for today, Travis. Travis, how you doing?
Yeah, I'm well. I've been looking forward to this moment ever since the first announcement that OU was going to be joining the SEC.
Yeah.
To get out and actually, I remember talking to Greg Sankey in 2022 at the College World Series because, of course, then it was of the 8 teams there, 6 of them are current SEC teams. So it really felt like the SEC Invitational, and he kind of had that smile on his face of, can't wait to get down to Norman and watch some baseball there. Love the smaller upgrades now, more upgrades to come, obviously. But yeah, feeling great. Glad to be here with you.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a big time weekend for Oklahoma too, because they're moving in. Their first SEC series was last weekend against South Carolina. Now going into this weekend's first SEC home series. So I mean, how big is this for Oklahoma and for the fans to come out to L. Mitchell Park and be able to support their guys here?
Yeah, I think it's funny because I think football dictates so much of the mood of the fan base in general, right? I think we see that bleed into, basketball, bleed into baseball, things like that. I mean, even when Oklahoma started so hot in the non-conference, right? They said, hey, I'm not going to trust it until we get to SEC play. I was like, Skip Johnson has earned your loyalty. I promise you. Like, he played for a national championship, in 2022, and had to go through Texas and Texas A&M on that side of the bracket to even get to the championship series. So, I mean, it's one of those things. I think, again, fans can be a bit jaded, but we saw really good attendance this week in the midweek. Saw great attendance the past couple weekends. I know there's going to be some tailgates out here. Like I said, we've got old Section 405 that we're chilling in right now. It's going to be nice weather. I mean, all things considered. I know it's a little windy out here right now, a little bit brisk, but I mean, we're also shooting this the morning of the game. So
I think this is beautiful weather. I think this is baseball weather to me. I like a little cooler weather. I'm from the north.
I was about to say, Iowa guy over here. Yeah, this is surprised you didn't come out with some swim trunks.
Yeah.
But yeah, with the OU baseball fan base, I think it's growing. I think it's passionate, and I think that first series showed them. I mean, you win an SEC baseball series on the road.
Oh yeah.
I mean, and outside of Missouri, there's no real bad teams in this conference, and Missouri fans will tell you that too. I'm not just taking pot shots, but like, it's tough to win on the road in the SEC, and if you can stack those road series victories and protect your home, then you're going to be in really good shape. Down the road, obviously, Oklahoma, a top 10 team in most polls right now. They're in line, if they can continue this play throughout the season, to host a regional. And it was so much fun hosting a regional last year. The crowd really showed up.
Yeah, and it's a lot too. And like you said too, here in Section 405, I mean, great view. I know a lot of people like sitting behind the plate. That's probably the heart of it, because you get to be closer to the action. But you can catch a fly ball out here. You can catch, you can cheer for more home runs to be hit. It's a beautiful view from up here, and a new experience for Oklahoma Sooners fans too.
You can also heckle the other team.
Yeah, there you go.
Which is wildly important. That's what's great about baseball, really. I mean, when you go to an OU football game, like, it doesn't matter where you're really sitting. Like, you can't heckle somebody while they play. Like, no matter how loud you are, Arch Manning isn't going to hear you while he's trying to hear your specific words, your specific insult, your specific heckle, while he's under center. Out here, these guys can be, trying to catch, balls at the wall. They can be trying to, throw somebody out. Like, and you're in their ear the entire time. So, I mean, and even behind the plate, everything like that, like, you can hear what everybody says, whether it's a pitcher, whether it's a hitter, anything like that. And that's really, I think, what sets baseball apart, is the fans can truly impact a game like individually, obviously as a collective, but individually in such an extreme way. And that's why I think the Section 405 is so cool because, behind camera is the berm, right? And, for a long time, for decades, people have been setting up couches out there and tents, and they've been rowdy, which is fantastic. I think with this, and I think some of them will even say, it's just cool how close. I mean, we're right here. Like I could knock a ball out of a glove if I need to. So that being just on top of it, and I think especially given the SEC environments, I mean, there are some environments that are just insane. I mean, Ole Miss, Tennessee, Arkansas's got crazy environment. LSU's insane. The Vandy boys, all those insane Mississippi State, who's going to be visiting here. I mean, they've got incredible digs. So knowing that, we need to make this a really intimidating platform to where, students are up here, always in the ear of those guys, and it looks great. I mean, they've got the big Oklahoma baseball. It looks great from the plate. I sit down in there, but you see the Oklahoma baseball logo, the SEC logo right here. I mean, it's cool. It's cool out here for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it like you said, it adds an extra aspect of fans being able to get up very close. Like you said, you can reach right over the wall right here. That's how close you are to the action. But a big time matchup, and it's to my knowledge, this is the first time Mississippi State as a school has ever traveled to Norman for baseball. So that's big too. That's something it's fun to bring in these new opponents. It's fun to obviously bringing in outside conferences in is always fun. But then whenever it's your conference now and you're getting to play an entire series here at home against great competition, SEC is it. When we were in the Big 12, it was so annoying to listen to the SEC as the greatest conference, and then we got to the SEC. Man, this is the greatest conference, and it's really tough. Because now you realize it. Now you're going against teams like Mississippi State, Vanderbilt, which I know sounds silly, but they are a baseball school.
Yeah, they're really good baseball school.
And Florida, what they're doing this year. There's so many great teams. Alabama's looking really good this year. There's so many great teams on the schedule. LSU's coming up in a couple weeks here at Elldale. So I mean, it's going to be a great season. It's big time, especially home opener for the SEC.
Right, and I think Oklahoma's in the unique position of, everybody remembers, their first impression, right? So, I mean, Mississippi State fans traveling, baseball fans travel. LSU fill this place up if we let them. They travel and they want to see what Oklahoma's about. We saw this during football season, right? A ton of visiting fans because they want to see what it's about. So Oklahoma fans have an opportunity to make their mark and their first impression on a lot of these Mississippi State fans that are going to come. And I think that's what excites me most is, Oklahoma is such an established brand in college athletics that very rarely do you have a chance to kind of introduce yourself again. Because it's a national brand, it's an international brand. So with that, it's kind of cool to get that next chance to do something new and to introduce. And you bring up SEC, it's truly insane. I mean, SEC, 14 teams in the field. Obviously, many gone now. Texas didn't quite make it into the field, but we're counting them as the 14th.
But we'll pretend like they did.
But with that, it's like the SEC, every sport, as good as basketball is, there's probably only one. Oh man, probably only Kentucky has better basketball culture than they do baseball culture. And that's what's crazy is everybody's like,
Kentucky was just in Omaha last year too.
Right, and that's the thing. It's if Kentucky wasn't a blue blood, then it might flip. But it's crazy because I think a lot of people, in the Big 12, it was like football's king, and then it's basketball, and then it's baseball. Right. Whereas the SEC, it's very much football and then baseball, and there are some that would put baseball above football when you think of environments. So that's what's so interesting, and I can't wait to go to more road series. But that's what they're expecting. They're expecting, hey, SEC, this is the second biggest sport. Obviously, we share the parking lot. We see Love's Field behind the camera. When you share weekend series schedules and you share the attention span of a dynasty behind you that Patty Gasso's got more rings than Nick Saban, and they're over there. It's one of those things softball's got a great culture. They've built that through winning championships, right? And not many athletics, only a handful of just sports programs in general have been able to do what Patty's doing over there. So, already a battle for that fan base. And then, but, it's a big weekend, obviously, for baseball. Jenny B, the number 3 seed Oklahoma, women's basketball is going to be hosting. So they play tomorrow. Just going to be a fantastic weekend of sports in Norman.
Yeah, it's big time, big time environment now. It feels like, how many times have we had games where you're probably sitting over here and you can hear cheers just across the road over here.
Oh yeah,
and vice versa. You're hearing it back and forth. It's big. But this weekend we've got a quick overview. We got Friday starts at 6:30, and then Saturday at 4, and then Sunday at 2. So if you're in the area, if you're in Norman, you've got to make it out to the Dale. Come out here and support the guys. I know you've been pretty big on that, trying to get fans. Hey, come out and support. They were just in the national championship game a couple of years ago.
Right.
You've got to realize that this is a good baseball team.
They hosted last year.
Yeah, they just hosted regionals. So
right.
it's big. But kind of getting into it real quick, talking about this team specifically, what's kind of stood out to you so far about this Oklahoma baseball team? Because I feel like this team feels much different than even the past couple. Even going back to the national championship team, I feel like this team feels different. They feel much more tested already, which is crazy, and non-conference play leading into the SEC. But this is a special team. What stands out to you?
I think the play of the young guys, right. Really. I mean, and not unlike that 2022 team, really, that saw guys like John Spikerman and Jackson Nicholas really step up, as freshmen and make such a big impact on that Omaha team. You see a guy that's leading the team in batting average in Kyle Branch, making big plays at second base. I mean, he's been incredible. Freshman, batting like 366. You look at guys like Trey Gamble and Jason Walk. When initially in all the preseason stuff, especially nationally with our guys at SEC Unfiltered and all those guys, they're like, what we know about Oklahoma is Skip Johnson will always have good arms on the mound. We know about the Witherspoon twins. We know about Cam Johnson. They're about to learn about Cade Crossland. South Carolina certainly did. Like we know that, but what's the offense going to be? And the answer nationally was Jackson Willits and Easton Carmichael. And those two are going to not only bring power to your lineup, but clutch hitting, and they're going to hit for average, especially Easton. But, I mean, I think Easton's batting like 299, not a bad 299 right now, with some, obviously, the clutch walk-off, over past weekend. But it's like you're being led by not your main guys. And I think that's what's important. You needed the rest of the roster, your Sam Christensen's, again, your Trey Gambles, your Dawson Willis, those kind of guys to step up. Dayton Taki, I think he's 4th or 5th in batting average on the team, and he's a power guy. So I think getting things from the other contributors, the unknowns, was super important because, again, you knew Witherspoon, you knew the mound was going to be great.
Yeah.
Right? And you were like, okay, we might play some low-scoring games. You're going to win a lot of your Fridays with Kyson on the mound for sure. And then, but those unknowns on offense coming through. And I think this is just such an exciting style of offense to play in with that chaos style that they employ. I think it's a little bit easier to recruit to, just the playing style. Obviously, NIL support is important. Facilities are important, coaching is important, development's important, all that kind of stuff. But I think this offensive style is fun. It's like, hey, we're going to overrun bases. Yeah. We're going to be aggressive. We're going to make amateurs make plays. These are amateur baseball players out there. I know a lot of them are going to go play, at least get drafted. But they're amateurs. Make them make plays.
Yeah, and you brought up the mound and what we've got in that pitching staff. It's deep this year. And then you've got a guy like Dylan Crooks who's able to step in as the guy that can save the day. You kind of get in a tough situation. Hey, we need somebody who's going to be able to close out the game, save the game. He's come in a lot. He's pitched for just over 13 innings, only a .68 ERA.
Yeah, he's been insane, and it's funny because obviously his older brother Jimmy Crooks, made a big name for himself around here. So when Dylan was first coming on, it was always, hey, Jimmy's brother. Yeah. It's always Jimmy's brother, right? We got Reggie's kid, we got Jimmy's brother, we got Lorenzo Kane's nephew. We got a lot of people. We get the whole family involved here, but like with him just in general, you need that closer. So, I mean, Trevin Michael, is a guy you think of that had kind of that little bit of attitude. And Dylan, with confidence is getting that a little bit of attitude. I'm not sure he's going to, I don't know if he's going to spin around and throw the horns down after after the save, but he might. So I think he's been great. To your point, the pitching depth is fantastic. Michael Catalano, you've got obviously, Cade and Cam and those guys. You're getting contributions from guys you didn't quite expect to get contributions from, like I said, on the offense, but even in the pitching staff. Really excited about everything on the mound. They're going, I think they feel really good at about 10 to 12 arms.
Yeah.
And you need that pitching depth, especially late in the year. When you start to get into those regionals and things like that, you need to have 4 and 5 arms, right?
Yeah.
We saw with Grant Stevens last year. Obviously, he's done for the season with an injury this year that he sustained in the offseason. But that was a guy who came in last year and was like, hey, I got to start in I think it was the Big 12 championship. Okay.
Yeah,
I guess I'll just go out there and shove. You need that pitching depth later in the year when the games start to matter a lot more. Right
now, I feel like you're really confident about three confident pitchers that you're 100% no matter what the scenario is, and then you've got that depth. Of course, with Dylan Crooks being your closer,
right?
That's a easy one there to make the pick. But then I think as the season goes on, you're going to start to find other guys. You're going to start to be able to find the place that's best for them. Where are they going to fit in best? And I think that's what you're finding so far.
Well, and build those matchups too, right? Because with those, you can go, just based on do I have a couple lefties coming up, a couple righties coming up, and if you already have confidence in there to go out and pitch to whoever, then you can start picking your spots and really once the LSUs come to town, right? Once the Texases come to town, you're talking about 2 top 10 teams. You do that, and all of a sudden, you need to be able to bring in almost a specialist and be like, hey, these next 2 batters are yours because of the matchup. So building that up and being able to bring those guys in later in the year is going to be super important.
We talked a lot about the Sooners' strengths. What are some of the concerns, especially going into SEC play, like we're mentioning all these great teams that you're going to have to go against? What are some of the concerns that Oklahoma has for this baseball squad?
I think they feel fantastic. I know we just got done talking about the pitchers. I think they feel fantastic, obviously, about the Witherspoon twins. Mm-hmm. Kyson is, I think the top prospect amongst SEC pitchers right now, top draft prospect. I think it feels like they've fully made the switch to Cade Crossland from Cam Johnson. I think Cam will, start seeing a lot of midweeks. I know Skip said he wasn't feeling very well in that Sunday start against South Carolina on the road. After 2 pitches, they already had somebody up in the bullpen. So a lot of people will say, oh, that's maybe just a coach protecting his guy. But I don't know what a guy can do in 2 pitches for a coach to be like, hey, we need, it had to have been an illness. It just had to be. So, Cade was a guy that they liked a lot. He dealt with an injury in the fall that they were trying to build his stamina up that he could go, longer outings. You want him to get to that 5-6 range in innings pitched. So I think I had a concern a little bit early in the year going, okay, when is this? I don't want it to be, a bad loss or something like that finally pushes Cade into the weekend rotation. But I think it handled well. I think the transition was you still won a series on the road while only getting, that Sunday game we won at South Carolina.
Yeah.
You had your starting pitcher go 2 batters.
Yeah.
Walk on 4 balls and then hit by pitch.
Yeah.
You usually don't win that game in the SEC when you count on a good quality start. So I would say, really, really dialing that in, making sure Cade is comfortable in the weekend role. I think he's comfortable, but making sure he can go, deep into games. But as far as that, concerns, I don't have any concerns that, Easton's going to continue to hit under 300. I think that number is going to finish the season more around 330, 340.
And it's starting to climb.
Yep. And then I guess long-term concerns, can a guy like Kyle Branch, young freshman, that has had an incredible start to the season, batting 366, where does that end up, right? And again, freshman, what happens if he gets into a slump? How is he going to handle that? He's handled pretty much nothing but success so far.
Yeah.
So success, can be easy to handle, but baseball, again, mental game. If he goes into a slump, how's he going to handle that? Jason Walk, he's batting above 360. If he faces, a little extra adversity throughout, these tough SEC series, how's he going to handle that? Trey Gamble, 360 average right now. How are they going to handle that as they start to see better and better and better competition?
Yeah. And moving on over to Mississippi State, talking about this team. This is a team that is 14-7 coming into this matchup, into the first game, and it's a team historically that's known for, again, deep pitching staff, which is known pretty much all over the SEC. That's what you got to have.
Yeah.
And heavy hitters. One heavy hitter that they've got this year, they've got Hunter Hines on their team. He's a phenomenal senior. Didn't get drafted last year. Came back for his senior year, and he hit 16 home runs, 56 RBIs, and a 257 average last year. And he's fourth in program history coming into the season for career home runs. He's on his way. I think he's 26 away from being able to break that record. It's very possible for him, but you've got guys like him. I think that's one guy that I look at on the scouting report. Guys like him that can step up and they can catch Oklahoma sleeping if they have a good hit. And we've seen that a couple of times in the past, with games like DBU, or even that second game against South Carolina, where Oklahoma's just not paying attention. They're not awake. I don't know what's going on. But what's your biggest concern maybe going into this game for Oklahoma to be able to close out and win another SEC series?
Yeah, it's interesting because kind of the not awake, kind of falling asleep at the wheel type situation. It's a fine line, right? Because is it okay? You're calm and you're collected and you're focused, because that can also look like you're kind of asleep, right? You don't want to get yourself so amped up to where you're making mistakes. You're playing too fast, you're playing too aggressive or something like that. But yeah, I wouldn't be shocked if they've got him circled and maybe pitch around him a little bit. I mean, with this wind blowing out, I mean it might be a home run derby tonight.
Yeah, it could be.
I mean, it is. I mean, we're looking at the SEC flags atop the stadium, and even the American flag over there at the LNC. It is blowing out. It's blowing out hard. So
and it pushes right out to left field too. Perfect.
So if you've got a guy that's hitting 250, 260, just keep it on the ground.
Yeah.
Just keep it on the ground, because Mississippi State's lineup isn't extremely scary. They've got a couple guys punching kind of above their weight, but he's definitely the problem in it. So, I trust Kyson wholeheartedly, just because he's incredible. He doesn't walk a lot of guys. He strikes out a ton of guys. He's got that swagger on the mound. I don't think we're going to have too many troubles outside of their couple big hitters, because I think Skip's going to have a plan for him.
We already talked about home field advantage. It's important. You already kind of mentioned a little bit about what they can do, but what's your advice if you're talking to Sooner Nation? What's your advice to Sooner Nation to come out this weekend, and what's your call? What's your call to action for Sooner fans this weekend?
I know there's going to be some tailgates this weekend. Make sure you're heavily lubricated. Be responsible, but just let your voice be heard. Don't be afraid to be embarrassed for yelling or anything like that. Like, let these guys have it. Like, bullpen's right over there. Like, you've got players right here. Get into them as they're making catches. Google them. Go to their Instagram. Find something about it. Like, we've got to fight fire with fire. And when our players are on the road, they're going to be dealing with some extremely hostile environments. So this is our first impression, and it's not about making sure we fit in with the SEC. We got a lot of that with Dari Noka's comments, right? As everybody, he's like, hey, I'm afraid that people are going to look down their nose at Oklahoma, and people said, who cares what the SEC thinks about Oklahoma? You know who cares? Recruits. Recruits care. Like, recruits want to go play in fun environments. They want to play in hostile environments. They want to play environments that have a big home field advantage. Like, it makes it easier on Skip, Ryan Gaines, Todd Butler, Reggie Willits, all those guys, to go and recruit the best talent in the country to come play here if they know they can come play in front of a hostile environment. It shouldn't be hey, we win despite, the home field, not being an insane environment. It should be, hey, man, our insane environment is helping us win ball games. So, again, come heavily lubricated, rest those vocal cords a bit, and then get after them all weekend.
Yeah, that's the best way to do it. Of course, I feel like you felt that way so far with a lot of Oklahoma sports. I feel like softball, obviously, easy to do it over there. Football, easy to do it there. But now you got to get into it. I think the basketball and baseball, those are the two that I feel like Sooner fans have not really stepped up and shown their full support all the way for. And of course, like you said, might just be because they're kind of still feeling that hangover from the football season. It didn't go the way they wanted, but it's big.
Well, and with softball, like softball is the most supportive. Like softball fans in general, like the most supportive people I've ever met. Like you go in there, the team's leading chance, but it's very like it's just supportive. Like you can't talk. Like if you say the things that I've heard been said in baseball diamonds, you would get like the ugliest looks from the softball crowd. Like it would be bad news. But all the people with the Twitter burners and everything that say the most outlandish things at all times, like that's what this is for. That's what baseball is for. Like come say the craziest things you want to them. Just continue to get the win. But yeah, baseball, again, has had better crowds this year than any time I remember, especially with the season ticket sales. Season ticket sales were up 60% this year, according to Oklahoma, and that was after last year setting attendance records.
Yeah.
So, Joe C., put the onus on the fans, and to some of their, to some of their anger, it was, hey, look, if you show up and fill this place, like, that's what we give attention to. Like you can't ask for expansions and more seats and all this kind of stuff if you're not selling out the already small state 3,200. Like if you can't sell out 3,200, you're not getting 5, right? So it's with that, the fans have done an incredible job this year. Again, midweek, non-con, all that kind of stuff. But a lot of it is because the team is stepping up. Yeah. The argument that people have had with basketball is people were talking about attendance during a 5-game skid in the SEC. Now, they ended up rallying, playing extremely well down the stretch, becoming a 9 seed in the tournament. They'll play, obviously, UConn tonight. Mm-hmm. But it's the team has to perform, give them something to cheer about. And Skip Johnson's club is giving them something to cheer about.
Yeah, absolutely. There's no doubt about that. Going into this series, what's your final prediction? What do you think Oklahoma walks away with this weekend against Mississippi State?
Well, I think we sweep. I think we sweep. I mean, you've got to keep up with the arms race in the SEC, and that's not a baseball pun. Arms race in the SEC. I think the Witherspoon twins are both going to shove, and I think Cade Crossland, now that he's got the weekend start in his sights, I think he's going to do what he can to hold on to that. So I think Oklahoma starts with a big statement here in the SEC home opener and sweeps Mississippi State.
I like that. I like that pick a lot. I'll pick a 2-1 just to make it fair, make it a little less biased. Although I feel like Mississippi State's a team that Oklahoma should be able to sweep, especially at home.
Right.
We're talking about this environment. It's up to Sooner fans to create the environment, of course. But I'll pick a 2-1 just to make it a little bit more fair. Give them one game, maybe the middle game or something.
Okay.
But I like the sweep pick though.
Well, I mean, it's on paper, as you said, it's a team you can sweep.
Yeah, it is.
It's but to your point, 2-1, just win the series.
Yeah. Yes.
Just win the series. If you win most of your SEC series, you're one of the best teams in the country.
Yeah, I mean, if you can win 10, lose 10 in the SEC, you're doing all right.
Right, you're doing great.
You're doing all right.
Yeah, absolutely.
But Travis, I appreciate you so much for coming on the show.
Absolutely.
Tell everybody where they can find your stuff.
Oh boy, let's see. At Travis Skol on Twitter, Travis SKOL, Travis Skol on Twitter, on Instagram. I'm also an OU Insider contributor, largely during football season. And then, KREF, Home of Sooner Fans. I'm a radio host for them. I do the post-game shows for football, and I also have a weekly show, KREF. Download the free app in the App Store. I've got the JP and Trav show with Indy Sooner, Jalen Posey. We do a weekly show. So also you catch me on spots on SEC Unfiltered and that SEC podcast and Sooner Spotlight. So
yeah, all over the place.
All the big ones.
All the big ones.
All the big ones. So absolutely appreciate you having me.
Yeah.
Thank you, Ryan Gaines, Patrick Dunn, all the OU baseball folks for letting us into the stadium early. On a game day, almost got ran over by the Mississippi State bus. You can tell he's never been here before. Almost ran us right over. But out here at Section 405, they're getting things tuned up, ready to go for the weekend. So make sure you guys get out here. And again, thank you to OU Baseball for having us.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, Section 405, that's the place to be. Come on out.
Hey Sooner fans, did you enjoy this video? Well, go ahead and hit that like button and go ahead and hit that subscribe button. What are you doing if you've made it this far and haven't already? You should be able to find that subscribe button over here. And then if you want to see full episodes, we've got those up here and clips right down here. So go check that out. But we thank you all so much for all the love, all the support. We'll catch you next time. Boomer.